just to be about the benefits of pollinators, but I went ahead and threw in the benefits of native plants as well, because they really just interrelate. Everything you do for one helps the other, vice versa. Like, there's no more, you can't benefit pollinators and they can't really benefit you too well if you don't have both compounds. So let's go ahead and get started.
Why don't I introduce you real quick?
Oh,
So
sorry.
everybody, no, you're good. In case anybody that didn't catch the first session, I just want to let them know that you're Taya with T's Bees.
Yes.
And she, Taya is 22 and she's been a beekeeper for a year and a half. And she just began with a couple hives and that's grown to, she's currently at 9 hives. And she takes the excess wax from those hives and renders it down and puts it into her products. And she has a bunch of products available for the curbside event on May 23rd. We're so glad that you've joined us. She finds beekeeping just extremely peaceful, and I'm just glad you jumped in. It's a awesome to share your talent and craft with us. Thank you.
Of course, I'm glad to be here. Okay, so I actually didn't start beekeeping. I didn't plan to start beekeeping. I had been interested and I joined a few groups here and there. And there are tons of groups on Facebook, so much information. And I just kind of joined, and I live in an apartment, so can't really have bees here. And this lady one day was selling a couple hives, and I was just like, Matt, that's my boyfriend. I was like, guess what we're gonna do today? We're buying bees, and we just did it. I just completely jumped in head first, and they have beekeeping classes, and I didn't do any of that. I didn't do any of the necessary steps. I just joined, and I love it. I do notice a lot of people are shocked when I tell them that I'm 22 and I have bees, because usually when you think beekeeper, you think like older men, and the women population in beekeeping is evening out. It's getting there. Not quite the same ratio, but we're getting there. It is very peaceful. I like working my hives alone. My boyfriend actually hates my bees and has nothing to do with them, but it's fine because you have to work slow and work with the bees. You have to learn to read them. And so I really enjoy that. And then it does make a difference. I've noticed in the neighborhood surrounding my bees that in the year and a half that I've had them, things bloom better, things bloom sooner than expected, and it it smells so, that sounds really weird. It smells better in the area because so much more is actually blooming. I did put a couple photos here of just random pictures in my hives, but yeah, let's go. So everyone thinks honeybees when you think pollinators. Everyone brings up honeybees to me and what were the issues that they're facing. But people don't realize how much all of the pollinators are required and are necessary. 2/3 of plants require pollination, and that's not just crops. Everyone focuses on crops and agriculture, which is extremely important, but it's everything. Everything requires pollination of some sort, whether it's by wind, whether it's by bats or moths or any kind of bee. Um, all animal pollination helps and benefits all the other plants. It helps benefit us, of course, but then the cross pollination creates healthier plants, creates genetically diverse plants and different variations of strains. And I don't know, it just, everything benefits everything. There are so many species of bees across the world. There are even more species of wasps, which are pollinators and people don't really think about because wasps equal evil in most people's eyes, which is fine. I understand. I'm not a big fan of wasps either, but they're so beneficial. This says that there are almost 400 species in New York alone. There are 300 in Pennsylvania. I actually didn't look up the numbers for Oklahoma because there's just so much everywhere. Um, my hives, if I have them in a good area, the crops flourish, the plants and flowers. I have actually a honeysuckle fence behind my hives, and they're blooming right now, and it smells absolutely amazing. And the bees are loving it, the flowers are loving it. So you have healthy populations of pollinators, you have healthy flowers. If you don't have decent flowers for your area, you're not going to have as good of pollinators. And everyone does focus on the honeybees, but honeybees are not native to the US. We have them, and they're like 200,000 to a million hives, depending on the time and how many each beekeeper has. But they're not native here. They're from Europe, and so we should focus more on our native plants and our native pollinators. Each year, beekeepers lose, I want to say the number right now is about 40% of the hives, from different things, from starving to mites to there's colony collapse disorder, which no one essentially knows what it is. It just kind of happens. It's when you have a decent hive and they just die for whatever reason. And we don't know why it happens. We don't know what the cause is, but the rough estimate is about 40% right now each year. And that's just for what we can monitor. And beekeepers who do mite treatments and do medicine and watch their hives are losing 40%. So you can only imagine what the wild populations are that don't get all of those things they need. Because mites weren't originally from here either. They got carried over from Asia. And so wild hives don't always have those resistant strains to the mites and to the diseases because they never had to deal with them before. So our native bees are also in a decline. There's been a lot of talk here recently about different kinds of bumblebees that are no longer being seen, and mason bees. No one really focuses on wasps, but one kind of pollinator kind of goes in a decline. They all do. Bats are also having issues with different diseases and funguses, and those are actually, I want to say, caused by us from just going into where they're sleeping and where they're hibernating and kind of messing with things and just bringing diseases with us, accidentally, of course. If you'll switch slides. So when I tell people that I am a beekeeper, everyone always talks about how we have to help honeybees and how it's so important. And it is. It is important because they are facing issues, but no one ever mentions butterflies or how we don't have as many monarchs or wasps or moths of all things. No one ever mentions it to me. Wasps pollinate. Not all of them are focused on meats and different things. No one really talks about how bumblebees make honey. Bumblebees live in, instead of the 22,000 like honeybees live in, they live in small colonies of 50 to 250. And instead of just the males dying off in the winter, they all die off with the queen. So every year, bumblebees are starting again as long as that queen doesn't die. And bumblebees and a lot of other native pollinators live in the ground. Like mason bees like burrowing in wood, and they do this thing where instead of just burying like straight into wood, they like they burrow into it, and then they do like 90-degree turns. So it kind of sucks for your house, but they're pretty elaborate. And then when they go to lay eggs, they lay an egg and then pack some dirt, and then lay an egg and then pack some dirt. And so the tunnels are just eggs ready to hatch. Mason bees are really cool because you can order them online and hatch them out. And to prevent them hatching too soon, you just put them in the fridge. You just put the cocoons in the fridge and bring them out when you're ready. Bats, my cat is on top of my chameleon cage. 1 second. Nothing's ever easy here. But bats are cool because you don't ever see them, but they're always working and doing stuff at night when everyone's asleep. So you really don't have issues with them, and you don't deal with them ever. Okay. The next slide, I think, breakdowns of different things you can do to help pollinators. A lot of people focus on the insect hotels because they're so cute, and because they've been pushed by different social medias, but a lot of people don't realize that there are issues when it comes to these hotels. Mainly solitary pollinators like mason bees and really bumblebees aren't going to want to be near other pollinators. They're solitary. They like living alone. So you putting all of these little houses next to each other creates territory issues. Wasps that there are a lot of solitary wasps. They don't want to live next to bees. Bumblebees can get diseases from honeybees. Like they just they need their separate spaces. So if you are going to do insect hotels, which is a great idea, make sure you're doing it properly where you have small sections spaced out everywhere, if that makes sense. So you could do multiple, just put them all over your yard. Or if you have multiple trees in your backyard, maybe do one per tree with different, like the tubing or just the drilled holes in the piece of wood or whatever. Make sure you have a wide variety, but space it all out. Watering holes are really easy because it benefits everything. Just you can take a bowl or a tub, or for my bees right now, I literally have a giant storage tub, and I have used like the caulking glue or whatever, and I've done patterns and just stuffed rocks in it. And I have a small solar fountain that I got off Amazon for like 10 bucks, and it just runs water. And you want something the bees can stand on, or really any of them to stand on so they don't drown. And you just fill it once a day, once a week, and they're good. They'll help. It helps wasps. And I find it interesting to watch my watering thing because they're not worried about each other. They're just kind of all getting their water. They're living their lives. I was going through for just checking my hives the other day, and I was spraying sugar water it calms the bees down sometimes. And there was a wasp coming just drinking all the sugar water off the top of the hive, and it wasn't worried about me. They weren't worried about each other. They were just living life and drinking all the sugar water they could. The flowering pot down here is an easy way to make a bumblebee nest. There's multiple ways to do such. This was the easiest I found. Bumblebees live and they create little pots. They kind of like the cells for a beehive, but they're little like pots. And so they fill them with honey. They lay their eggs in it, and I don't know. They do get territorial, but they live underground. So if you're in their area, you're like probably stepping on the top of their colony. If you'll switch the slides, please. So native plants are very basic. They're hardy because they're made for your area. They handle weather changes very well because they're made for your area. You don't have to deal with pesticides because all the bugs that are going to bother them, they're used to because they've adapted over time for this specific location. Fertilizers aren't really needed because they're native, so they're focused on your soil types, and they will take whatever they need because they adapt to their area. They're very important because they create natural ecosystems, which will benefit the bugs in the area that want their native plants. That benefits birds from that area. Like it really, like, I don't know how to explain it other than that. They're just native. So if you bring in, let me see if I can try to explain it this way. If you bring in plants from New York to Oklahoma, they're going to be used to colder climates, and they're going to be used to different temperatures just overall. If you have plants from Oklahoma, they're used to the humidity. They're used to drought. It's not going to bother them. They're not worried about the things that they would have to like overcompensate for in other states. So it's super beneficial because you don't have to water as much, you don't have to treat as much, You don't have to worry about the bugs. It just takes so much time off your hands and just makes everything a lot simpler. Um, Again, super, super simple stuff. Quit using pesticides. If you want to help the pollinators, don't put things that are going to kill them. My chameleon is escaping as we speak. Um, a lot of people aren't aware of things, and they know that pollinators are important, but they don't know how important. And they know that while native plants might be a little better, they don't want to actually convert their yard because it will take time. But if you start with simple things, like if you have bushes in your front yard, um, over the course of this year, replace the bushes, make them something more natural, something more native. The next year, maybe replace the plants you have, some of the plants, just slowly convert it over time so you're not spending too much money, and it'll slowly build as you go. Quit mowing. You're gonna save so much time. You're gonna worry about the weeds. It's fine. No one really cares about the weeds, and the bees need it. Bees, all the flowers, the like dandelions, you see that everywhere. Dandelions are the first things in the spring that the bees can feed on. So leave them, let them grow, and then mow them down. And then let them fully grow again, then mow them down. Take breaks. Pollinators benefit. Everything benefits from weeds. Bumblebees, again, live in the ground. And so after winter, take time to leave everything. Leave all the leaves from your trees. Don't rake them, because different animals will use those things as shelter. So just leave it. Just let nature do what nature does. Nature do what nature do. Um, if you do feel obligated to mow or mess with your yard in any way, leave a small section, a section of your yard you don't use, as just a safe haven. Just leave it and let it evolve over time. Don't worry about the leaves or the tree limbs that are coming down. Just leave it, and the bees and nature will just love it. They'll just, that section will thrive. Um, yeah, buy local, support local nurseries, farmers, beekeepers. Then support them and buy from them, and then post about them. Bring it again, create awareness. A lot of people, well, yeah, they think about it, they don't actually follow through with it. So if you have a local bakery you like, or you have a nursery you love, bring attention to it so other people are aware of it, and then in turn they will do the same thing. They will go out and they will actually meet and talk to beekeepers, realize how important this is, and then they will throw that information out. And it's just an endless cycle. Like, support local, because they know what is needed in your area. You know exactly what pesticides or what medicines your animals have been given before they got to you. You don't always know that when you buy from big stores. So it's very important to know what you're getting. If you don't want to buy local and you want to do something, start a small garden. I actually have so many more things than I would like to admit growing on my patio right now. I've used this time to so much stuff. Like, I can't. um, Start a garden. If you don't want to deal with flowers, berries flower, different foods flower, jalapeno plants flower, anything benefits. Those need pollinators as well. So the pollinators will come, and then they'll leave you with peppers. They'll leave you with strawberries. Really, it all rotates. You help them, they help you in turn. Okay, so these websites I came across yesterday, and there are so many for our area. Oklahoma has OU and OSU, and both of them have beekeeping clubs. Both of them have started organization. OSU is amazing because they have it's like the OSU Farmers Market, and they do so much for our state. You can look up OSU, and they have lists and pages of different plants that are native, what those plants need. Um, the list of native plants here from Tulsa is really cool because it has the plant and then it has all of the bugs it benefits, and like butterflies or beetles or whatever, and it tells you what it benefits, it tells you what specific ones it benefits. um, it tells you, honestly, I was blown away because I've looked for lists of things to plant, but I've never come across something like this. It's very specific, and it's very specific for our area, which is great because a lot of people don't know where to start. So the Oklahoma Native Plant Society has different lists and stuff about native plants, and honestly, all of them benefit the plants, the pollinators. Like, so you start with one, you start with the other. Um, if you want to get more involved right now with the kids and being locked in the house, you can build your own insect hotels, and then you can order mason bee cocoons, and they'll ship you just a box with little cocoons that you can hatch, and then you just show them, you just kind of let them do whatever, and they'll go live in your hotels, and they'll just continue to come back each year. Or you could do butterflies. Plant a small butterfly garden and then grow and release butterflies. Make sure they're native to the area, but monarchs, you can grow, what is it, milkweed, and they just thrive off of those plants. And it's a great activity to do with the kids. You learn a lot. You go through the different stages of larva and cocooning, and you watch firsthand all of that information. So these are some really great links, really great sources for anyone starting or anyone wanting to learn more about this. I really don't know what else I've added because I felt like this was all pretty straightforward. Yeah, I felt like it's really straightforward. You help one, you help the other. So even if I don't know if there are actually people who will come out and transform your yard. I didn't really look into that because usually it's a lot easier and more hands-on to do it yourself. Um, but start with one kind of plant and research it. Learn what's actually in your yard and what it does and why it helps, the things that it does. Bats, bats and moths are pollinators that no one really thinks of because they're out at night. But plant some flowers that bloom at night. They're going to be a lot lighter. They're going to be a lot more floral scented, and you might not see them, but the bats will see them. Bat houses are really cool because you're not really gonna know that they're there, but they also do this thing where they can attract bee swarms. And so you can always call a beekeeper out to take the bat house or to take the swarm away. And then you're not only helping bats, but you're also helping bees, if not one or the other. So if you have lush gardens and you have native plants, you're going to attract more moths, more butterflies. Yes, there will be wasps. It's 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 what happens. You'll attract more of everything, but then you get to watch it. Butterflies are so vibrant and so pretty and just so peaceful, and bees are just living their lives. Um, I want to say it's watermelon plants. I was gonna say tomato because I know they need bumblebees to vibrate and disperse the pollen. But watermelon plants have a male and a female flower. So you need something to go from one to the other, vice versa. It's not just going to do it by itself. So plant things that will help multiple pollinators, not just one, and you'll thrive. You do one thing, the other thrives, they thrive, you thrive. It's just an endless cycle. I really I really don't know what else to say because it's just a circle.
No, that makes absolute sense.
I just it'll take a bit of work to convert, but you do it and they'll thrive, and then anything that's not native will also thrive. So even if you don't convert your whole yard, anything works.
Very cool. And I know we have several vendors with us this week that offer native plants, and they also offer various perennials that
Yeah,
attract.
yeah. You plant
Um,
things in the fall, it comes back like next spring.
yeah,
Yes, it's yeah. Another cool thing to do is we usually have these times called dearths where it's not really a drought, but there's nothing blooming for bees. And I know it's a big issue with beekeepers because then you have to feed them. If you plant things in your backyard that something blooms in the spring and then summer and then fall and you just have continuous blooming, you've done it. You've cracked the code to life. Like,
that's cool. That's really cool. Well, can you tell us a little bit about what you have and available for the curbside pickup?
I have tons of chapstick. I have so much chapstick. Oh my gosh. I have body butters and I do coffee scrubs and sugar scrubs. And then I have lotion bars. I've actually started making like a beard balm for guys. Um, my bees are in Midwest City. I actually have two bee yards. One's in Midwest City in my grandma's backyard, and then the other one is in Mustang in my aunt's backyard. And I don't keep them here. I have put bees on my patio before after catching a swarm, and I didn't have time to make it to my grandma's that night. The the maintenance guys were not very excited the next day when there were bees everywhere. But yeah, I am in an apartment. I'm using my patio space to grow everything I can right now, and then it will be later transferred for the bees. But
Very cool.
I take beeswax from my hives. You're supposed to rotate out the comb every couple years to make sure that it's always kind of fresh and doesn't really get gross or anything. And so I take the old gross wax and I clean it, and you can double boil it and strain it, and it'll get rid of all the gross stuff. And then you just have bright yellow comb. And so I take some of that and mix it into my stuff, and it helps you stay smoother and helps you lock in moisture.
Very
So
cool. And the best way to reach you for the curbside event is probably through Facebook, correct? Through your Facebook
yes,
page?
yes,
Okay. I put that on there. I also put your Etsy link, but I wanted to let everybody know that it saves both of y'all money to
yeah.
go through your
I
Facebook page.
Etsy has. I enjoy it. It's easy, especially when I'm sleeping, but it charges extra fees. And if you buy through me, I can ship to you. I can also do, the pickup next weekend. Um, but you won't have to pay those extra fees. If you don't want it delivered and you want to pick it up, we can do that, but I can't do that through the Etsy.
Okay.
And then if I do ship, I will only charge for shipping. And if for whatever reason you paid extra for shipping, I actually send it back because I know shipping fees are insane. So,
Well, I appreciate all your time this morning. This has
of
been very
course.
informative. It was fun learning about your bees earlier, and I just didn't know a lot about pollinators, to be honest.
Honestly, I really didn't either. I know like the basic things, but I've focused on the bees. That's all I've really, ever seen or talked about. And so I forgot that bats are pollinators. And waxcloth, yes, it is waterproof because the beeswax is, a wax. Um, I actually make it fresh per order, so it's gonna last a bit longer. It's really easy to use. You just kind of rub it in your hands, warm it up because the wax needs to soften a little bit, and then you form it to whatever. And then to clean it, you just run it under some cool water, add a bit of soap, hang it to dry, and then just reuse it. Depending on how often you do use it, it's good for 2 to 4 years. And then if you want to continue using it after that, you can either send it back to me, I'll re-wax it, good to go, or you can compost them. So they're really, really easy to use. I'm slowly converting everything to like plastic free in my house. My boyfriend doesn't like it, but they're easy enough that he can use them, so he doesn't fight me too much.
Do you flavor your chapstick? It's a message that went to me instead of the every. everyone chat. It says, do you flavor your chapstick like peppermint,
I
like using
do.
peppermint oil?
I do have peppermint. I have orange. I just experimented with red velvet. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I have strawberry, watermelon, lemon. Um, I did have grape. I think I'm out, but I have a decent amount of flavors.
That's cool.
And then all of my stuff is made with all natural ingredients. I think I was doing face masks, but I had tons of events scheduled this summer, but because of the virus, I don't want them to go bad, and that's the only thing that has any preservative in it. But everything's all natural, everything's handmade. Like, you know exactly what is in it and what's going on you.
Is there any other questions? You can put them in the chat or shout
Yeah,
them
feel
out.
free to message me at any time. I'm really responsive. Um, I if I can answer it, I'll answer it. If not, I will find an answer. Or if you ever do have issues with bees or you have a swarm in your yard, feel free to contact me. If I can't help you, I'm not in the area, I can find someone who can. We'll get you an answer of some sort.
Well, thanks so much. I put your contact information in the chat and I'm gonna, when I post the video, I'll put it in there as well. Anyone that would like to join us, we have a 5 o'clock session. It's herb gardens Q&A. We have Sky Ridge Farms, and Monica from Sky Ridge Farms, and we have Utopia Gardens out of Tulsa that are going to be answering our questions. They're getting together tonight, and they're going to go live and answer our questions about herb gardens. And then after that we're going to bake with Katie Pies and More. And Katie is doing a lemon raspberry bread, a sweet bread. So it's going to
That
be a lot
sounds
of
really
fun.
good.
Yeah, it sounds, her creations are phenomenal. So I can't wait. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. And if you have any updates throughout the week, just shoot them to us and we'll continue to post it on the Guild's website.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks,
you so much.
Taya. Bye, everybody.